Hey there again everybody, and welcome back to another Strange and Bizarre Cases video. These are the videos in which I take all of these shorter but still very interesting cases I come across and compile them into one nice monthly video. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So here we've got Michigan Honor Roll student 17 shot dead by 14 and 13-year-olds in attempted carjacking. So this incident all started when a 14-year-old boy, Justice James Chimner, stole his mom's 9mm pistol and went to hang out with his friends. It was Friday, January 17th. Justice, a name that will prove to be ironic, was hanging out with another kid his age when he got a message on Snapchat. In this message, he was asked to steal a car in exchange for some money. Justice and his friends decided that this would be a good idea, with, according to them, Justice's friend having stolen some cars in the past. While walking along the side of the road looking for a victim, the two boys came across a good Samaritan, 17-year-old Jack Snyder. Jack felt bad for the two boys. It was after midnight and freezing outside, and asked them if they needed a ride. The two boys decided to take him up on his offer and hopped into his car. While driving along Battle Creek Avenue, Justice and his friend took this opportunity to pull the gun out and order Jack to pull over, demanding that he remove his keys from the ignition. As Jack exited his car and stood on the side of the road, Justice raised his gun and aimed it straight at him. At this point, according to the boys at least, Jack began to reach for the gun and seemed to be grabbing something from his jacket pocket. Justice, believing that he was pulling his own gun, decided to shoot him twice. At 12:10 a.m., Jack was found lying next to his car, deceased after being shot during the attempted carjacking. The EMTs tried to revive him there on the scene, but he had already been lying there in sub-zero temperatures while losing a lot of blood for quite some time. There just wasn't anything that they could do. The police, investigating the situation, made a statement during a press conference saying that Jack's desire to help people ended up leading to his death. The victim was trying to be a good Samaritan by giving them a ride with the cold temperatures. I do know that he resisted the carjacking. So again, he was trying to help out but wasn't just going to give over the car, they said. The cops did note that, in their own words, they had dealt with the two boys before, but they refused to elaborate on their criminal history. Justice Chimner was caught and arrested, while the other boy, the 13-year-old, later turned himself in. The police had recovered the gun at the scene, but they weren't able to say which boy had actually fired the weapon. Justice was charged with felony murder, carjacking, and 2 weapons-related violations. Due to the severity of what he had done and his criminal history, he's going to be tried as an adult. He's facing a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. The other boy has been charged with murder as well. His fate is a little more ambiguous at the moment, though. Jack Snyder's family thanked the police for bringing this whole thing to a quick and easy resolution. Jack's teachers held a candlelit vigil in his honor. Jack was well known at this school. He was an honor student, a well-rounded student athlete, and all around just a good kid. On Facebook, Jack's sister wrote, "Jack had a zest for life and made the world a better place with his care and love for everyone. He loved spending time with his family and friends. On behalf of my family and I, we want to thank every single person that has reached out and come to see us. I've heard from people that I haven't seen or heard from in years, and it shows how much support we have during this never-ending nightmare. My brother was 17. He was supposed to graduate this year, and these monsters took his future away from him. He was the smartest out of all of us. He was gonna leave this shitty place. He had the biggest heart. He cared so much for others." Many different hashtags, such as Justice for Jack, started circulating right after his death. A soccer tournament was planned in his honor, with the proceeds to go towards his family. Justice Chimner has decided to plead not guilty. He and his attorney asked for a preliminary trial and for the court to give him a cash bond. This preliminary trial was set for April, during which he was found competent to stand trial. Even so, his attorneys requested another psych evaluation. The date on which this evaluation will take place has yet to be determined. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And here we have one that's absolutely insane. Mother playing chicken with her kids fatally strikes son with SUV, officials say. Here we have the tale of one of the worst mothers there could be. This particular mom, a 26-year-old woman named Lexus Stagg, was playing chicken with her toddler children. Chicken, if you don't know, is a game where you aim to get as close to doing something dangerous as possible without doing it. Ideally, you don't actually do that dangerous thing, you just get as close to it as you can without actually doing it. But, given the dangerous nature of the game, it's easy to slip up from time to time. On June 11th, Lexus decided to play chicken with her kids using her SUV, a 2006 Lincoln Navigator of all things, inching closer and closer to them without running over them in order to see who would bail out last. Surveillance footage showed that, right as the bumper of the car got a few inches away from the kids, Lexus threw the car into drive and accelerated further. This was when she hit her 3-year-old son, Lord Renfro, real name, with the right side of the vehicle. It didn't end there, though. Lexus fully ran over him with the back tire of the car. Lord was rushed to a nearby hospital in Houston, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Prosecutors have said that originally Lexus simply told the police that the kid had run out in front of her car while she was trying to back up. She framed it as a complete accident, saying that she thought she hit a speed bump and nothing more. The surveillance footage quickly debunked this story, however. It was pretty clear that she drove in reverse for about 100 feet before hitting the kid. The police said, the 2 other children were able to get out of the way, and tragically the younger child was not and was run over by 2 of her tires. I have never seen someone deliberately play with young children with a car. Eventually, the Harris County District Attorney's Office was able to hit Lexus Stagg with charges of criminally negligent homicide. On that charge, she faces up to 10 years in prison. The Harris County District Attorney said on the issue, "Every parent has an obligation to protect their children, even from themselves. Cars aren't toys, and playing chicken with your kids isn't a game. You should be playing peekaboo with a 3-year-old instead of forcing them to try and dodge a 5,600-pound deadly weapon." Child Protective Services pretty quickly removed the 2 other children from Lexus's custody and gave them to some family members where they're now staying. It's a bit telling that, as it turns out, this isn't even the first time that they were removed from her custody. It seems there was another incident that happened back in 2013 as well. Until her case is concluded, Lexus isn't to have any contact with any of her children. Her neighbors have said that this incident, although tragic, unfortunately did not come as a surprise, with one saying, "I felt bad because those parents, they were never there, they were kind of negligent." The prosecutors requested that Lexus be held on a $50,000 bond, but a magistrate judge ended up setting it at $1,500. She posted bond shortly after, dodging reporters on her way out and running back home. She'll be back in court shortly enough, though. At this point, it's unknown if she even has an attorney. And now we have, Ohio toddler dies after mom allegedly leaves child home alone for 10 days to go on vacation. It seems like month to month, a lot of the strange, shorter cases involve really horrible parents, and this is definitely one of those. Crystal Candelario, a 31-year-old mother out in Cleveland, Ohio, was arrested on June 18th and charged with murder. Crystal decided that she was going to go on vacation without her 16-month-old daughter. While most people would seek out a babysitter or maybe leave the kid with family, Crystal decided that her baby would be just fine on her own. She then left the baby by herself unattended while she traveled to Michigan and Puerto Rico. When she got back home on June 16th, she unsurprisingly found her young daughter unresponsive. The girl was extremely dehydrated, not having had any fluids in nearly 2 weeks. Once the EMTs came out, they pronounced the infant dead at the scene. There were no signs of trauma, but the cruelty was immediately apparent for other reasons. Her playpen and all of her blankets were completely soiled at this point, leaving her no choice but to lie down in the filth. Crystal was arrested on June 18th and charged with the murder of her own daughter. The investigators released a statement saying, simply, the child had been left alone and unattended for approximately 10 days and had subsequently died. Once news broke of the death, neighbors who had previously taken the girl came forward to say that they had watched her before and would gladly do it again. They were very confused and couldn't see why they weren't even asked. A 13-year-old neighbor who had previously watched after the young girl said, "Jalen really didn't deserve what happened to her. She was amazing and really adorable, and I miss her a lot." To add insult to injury, Crystal Candelario had actually been employed at an elementary school as well. Once news of her arrest broke, though, she was terminated from her position as a substitute. Crystal is currently being held in the Cuyahoga County Jail on a $1 million bond. So next up we've got, deputies accuse man of using Nintendo Duck Hunt pistol during robbery. How about a little bit of a palate cleanser after that last one? Here's a case that's more ridiculous and stupid than anything. This case involves a man out in South Carolina who was arrested when the authorities say that he tried to rob a convenience store with, get this, one of those old light guns from a Nintendo. You know, the kind that you used in Duck Hunt. This man, David Joseph D'Alessandro, was 25 years old and living in a small town in northwestern South Carolina. Lacking the gun necessary to perform a typical robbery, he decided he would take his duck hunt gun and spray paint it black. On May 30th, he walked into a quick-stop convenience store while wearing a wig, a big hoodie, and a mask. He then showed the clerk the toy gun in his waistband and demanded he hand over what was in the register, about $300. It seems he got his money, but the police were called shortly after. David was caught chilling and hanging out in a Dollar General parking lot not too far away, with the gun controller still shoved into his pants. He was arrested and thrown into jail, held without any bond for the time being. He's facing charges of armed robbery with a deadly weapon and petty larceny. The weapon, although probably only actually deadly if you're an old-school pixel art duck, was presented as a deadly weapon and seems to be being treated as such. Very weird. Here's a pretty wordy headline. At Harvard Medical School, an abhorrent betrayal. Federal indictment accuses school's morgue manager of stealing, selling body parts. So here's a really dark one, a gross one even. A little while ago, a bunch of human body parts were being sold both via social media and at an actual real-life shop called Cat's Creepy Creations. These body parts had been stolen from Harvard Medical School, little by little over time. According to the feds, the school's morgue manager was the one who did the deed and stole and smuggled the body parts. A federal indictment shows that Cedric Lodge, a 55-year-old man, had been taking heads, brains, bones, skin, and more from all sorts of cadavers that had been donated to the school. He brought them back to his New Hampshire home where he and his wife, Denise, would sell them off online. Some of those who bought the body parts in order to resell were charged as well, hit with charges of trafficking human remains. One of these people was a woman named Katrina McLean who had paid $600 for 2 human faces. She then went to sell them at her shop, Cat's Creepy Creations. Another man, Joshua Taylor, had sent Denise over $37,000 over a 3-year period. He was even stupid enough to list what these purchases were actually for, going as far as writing things such as head number 7 and brains on the payment receipts. This whole operation had apparently been going since back in 2018. The lodges had been pretty bold, even letting prospective buyers come out to the morgue and check out the merchandise before buying. It goes without saying that Cedric was fired from his position at the school after the dean called his actions an abhorrent betrayal. The dean described his actions as being morally reprehensible. And now we've got, loud fart gives away suspect's hiding spot, leads to arrest. Now, this is a Missouri case if I've ever heard one. I'm super excited to talk about this one. My own cousin actually sent it in to me, so you know it's going to be good. In Clay County, Missouri, the cops were tracking down a suspect when they decided to bust out the dogs in order to help with the search. The man they were trailing was wanted for possession of a controlled substance, so it's likely the dogs were going to be able to track him down. Unfortunately, these sniffer dogs were about to get a whiff of something they likely wouldn't enjoy. Or maybe they would, they are dogs after all. Interestingly enough, the dogs would prove to be unnecessary, as when they were searching for the suspect, he made his location known in a pretty different way. According to the police, originally this man was in a pretty good hiding spot, but apparently he let out a fart so loud that the police were able to determine his location pretty much immediately. Maybe it was nerves, who knows? This case was so unbelievable that it even has its own article on Snopes, who found it to be absolutely true. Being from Missouri, I didn't doubt it for a second. And now, COO of vegetarian food company bites man's nose. Here's a case that a lot of people will come to find hypocritical in immediately apparent ways. Douglas Ramsey, a 53-year-old man, was the chief operating officer of a company called Beyond Meat, one of the big vegan food giants. He was out in Fayetteville, Arkansas, viewing a local football game. Afterwards, he got into a fight with a man as he left a parking garage. Getting into a bit of road rage, he ended up confronting the other man. For some reason, he decided to bite him on the nose. In doing so, he ripped a good chunk of skin off the end of the other man's nose and was quickly arrested. Ramsey was left facing an interestingly named charge of terroristic threatening, along with one of third-degree battery. He paid his $11,000 bond and hopped right out of jail shortly after. Neither Ramsey nor the Beyond Meat company were willing to respond for comment afterwards. Understandably, it seems they were pretty embarrassed by the whole ordeal. After all, when a vegan bites someone's flesh off, the jokes kind of write themselves. And now, teenage car thief caught hiding in giant stuffed teddy bear, police say. For reasons that I'm sure a lot of you will probably understand, the idea of people hiding in big, cutesy dolls has become kind of a fear of mine ever since working on the Hello Kitty murders video. It definitely gives me a bit of a chill, and that's why this one stuck out to me. Well, and it's just stupid. In Manchester, England, a teenager was wanted for stealing a car and some fuel in Rochdale. The police were tipped off to an address in which he might be hiding and set off to check it out. When they went into the home to arrest him, they found that their suspect, 18-year-old Joshua Dobson, wasn't anywhere to be found. He was, however, still in the building. The police tracked his presence to a giant stuffed teddy bear. Joshua had somehow worked his way up into the inside of the doll. His location was given away when the police noted that this supposedly inanimate object was, well, breathing. They checked the doll out and found that their man was inside. The police, having a bit of fun with the case, sent out a statement saying that their suspect was stuffed behind bars, adding, "Hopefully he has a bearable time inside." And naked Florida man with machete accused of trying to steal another man's clothes. Now, where would we be in one of these compilation videos without a good Florida man story? Back in August, at around 10 a.m. one morning, a 34-year-old man was working as a fairground surveyor while another man named Brandon Wright was picking pimento berries out in the woods nearby. Once Brandon caught eye of the surveyor, he brandished a large, machete-type knife and jumped out of the woods, demanding the man's wallet, phone, and clothes. Brandon himself was completely butt-ass naked. The surveyor complied with his demands, not about to get stabbed by a crazy naked man from the forest. Despite this, Brandon chucked the machete at him anyway, along with a handful of the berries he had picked, before sprinting back into the woods into a white Dodge Challenger. Luckily, the man was only hit by the handle of the machete, leaving him very confused but completely uninjured. Brandon was later tracked down to a gas station in DeLand, still completely naked. In fact, the police only found him because so many people had reported that they saw a crazy naked man hanging outside of the gas station. A chopper then flew out and gave law enforcement updates on Brandon's location as they searched for him. The chopper told the police as they closed in on the parking lot, "He is naked, yelling at people in the parking lot, very animated." Right after, Brandon simply walked out into nearby traffic. The helicopter relayed, "He's now walking out into traffic, in the middle of traffic, yelling at people." But Brandon once again turned around and headed back to the gas station where he started doing push-ups in front of the entrance, for some reason. Then, when he saw the officers coming, he simply laid down on the ground and waited to be arrested. Brandon was taken into the Volusia County Jail on charges of attempted robbery with a deadly weapon, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This wasn't his first rodeo either. Back in August of 2021, he was also involved in a similar incident, after which he was caught running around naked in the exact same area. He also had a lot of priors under his belt, including charges of false imprisonment, possession of cocaine, and battery on a law enforcement officer. Here's a little extra entry. I'll admit that I don't know what the crime here actually was, but this man was having an arraignment in court over Zoom. Let's just say that the judge didn't really like his username on the platform.
Then we'll bring this fool in. Good morning, sir. What's your name?
Me?
Yeah, you. Yes.
Nathaniel Saxon, sir.
Your name's not Buttfucker3000, you yo-ho. Logging into my court with that as your screen name.
Why
We'll
would that?
discuss that in a little bit. What kind of idiot logs into court like that? What's your name again?
Nathaniel Saxton, sir, but I don't believe that I typed anything like that in.
Well, that's what it says.
Why,
We'll
I
discuss
apologize.
that in a bit.
That should not be.
Yeah, you should. I'll put you in the waiting room. You can sit in limbo for a while and think about what you call yourself online.
Once again, thank you for watching my video. Sorry if I sound a little bit weird in this one, I messed up my jaw and it's still not completely back to normal. Talking has been a little bit of a struggle. If you don't mind, go ahead and give the video a like, it really helps me out in the algorithm, comment if you have something to say, and subscribe if you want to see more. Go ahead and follow me on social media if you like. I mean, if anything were to ever happen at this channel, that would be the only way you'd hear about it. If you want to support the channel even further, I do have a Patreon account which I always keep linked down in the description below. Speaking of which, shout out to the top patrons. We've got Royal Pain and Ass, Kylie Jeffers, Tracy Farrell, Jada, Dana Hart, Anna B, Sunrider, Gabrielle Tansik, Lee aka Crust, Emilia Morales, George Lopez, Minnie Tina, Ron Murillo, Travis Billings, Lettuce, Jason Whitehurst, Lord Fool, Jim Dowell, Kimmy Leffel, Melina Lee Williams-Haas, Rebecca Padilla, Lisa Helmbrecht, Impalato, Stephen Jamie Kramer, Max Sword Guy, Pao Yang, April Diamond, Starfade, Astral, Angie, Rick of Work in Progress USA, Sass Johnson, Buttery Frankus, Jules Latona, Arctic Cat, Adrian Lawley, Marsh, Rinsenstein, Kim Peak, Lex Luthor, Lux Alpaca, CSD, Scoochie Main, Jackie, and Mark Barnett. You are all absolutely top tier. This has been your host Kyle. Thank you and good night.